All right, great to have Mark Feinsand in the building with us, leading the league today. Mark, good morning. Let's talk about this deal that lands Anthony Santander in Toronto, not only at face value, but what it might mean for the rest of the free agent class and specifically the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were finally able to get somebody to take some of their money, right? They've been trying to get guys for seemingly 2 years, starting with Ohtani, going to Soto, Burns. It just seemed like they were, every time they went after somebody, they had trouble securing the player.
And did they have to overpay because of that? Do you think that brought the price up? They were like, we can't swing and miss this time. Let's kick in an extra X.
I don't think so. I think coming into the offseason, people were sort of looking at 5 years and $100 million as that Santander number. He didn't quite get there. It could end up being 110 if that option situation is picked up. But I thought it was right around the market value of where he was going to go. The interest in him wasn't as great as people thought it would be for a guy who hit 44 home runs last year.
That's crazy.
Not a great defender and going on the wrong side of 30 in a lot of people's eyes. But I think it's a great get for the Blue Jays. Pair another power bat in that lineup with Vlad. And Matt, you were talking about, they need to sign Vlad. I think you're right, but that's not going to be easy, especially with the Soto deal this year. The number Vlad is now looking for has gone up exponentially. So he wants to cut off talks at spring training. I'm sure they'll talk a little bit before camps open, but I don't know that I would expect something to get done.
Is there canvas for another top prize in the market in Toronto?
I think there is. You think about it, they came into this offseason prepared to spend $50 million or so a year on Juan Soto. So spending 18 and change on Santander is not going to be like, all right, now we're done. Pete Alonso is a guy they are still interested in. I think you could see that first base DH combo with Vlad and Alonso. Vlad also can play some third. And I think Alonso, now that it looks like the Mets are pivoting elsewhere, at least that's what we're hearing, Alonso's market, not great. Toronto is a team that could look at him on a shorter-term deal, higher AAV, some opt-outs, sort of what we saw last year with Bellinger and Chapman. And I think, you add another power bat. All of a sudden, if you've inserted 80 home runs worth of power into your lineup, well, they're in a really tough division, competing with some really tough teams.
What happens next, right, for all these guys in the free agent market, where I've always felt when I was in my free agency year, I was hoping that these guys would sign, and then it was the next guy up. I know Pete Alonso is probably that guy, but who else? A guy like Profar could be in the mix. So saying, okay, Santander is gone, outfielder, this is where I fall. A team like the Braves, a team like the Mets, can they go after a guy like Profar or those key name pieces?
Absolutely. Profar's got a number of teams interested. The Blue Jays are among them. The Astros are still looking for a corner outfielder. I know they are interested in him. So I could see him being one of the next guys to fall. We keep talking about Alonso. We keep talking about Bregman. Those are the two biggest names left on the market. But it doesn't seem like there's anything close. Detroit and Bregman, it just still feels like a match. It feels like the right move for both sides. It's just a matter of whether Detroit's going to end up going up to the number and the years that they need to do.
From your eyes, why is it so hard for players to go to Toronto? I've always wanted. I felt like as a player, so many different things, right? Taxes is a big deal. Travel is incredible. You're playing in turf. But it's such a great place to play. Fan base is incredible. Stadium's updated. And it's for heaven for a hitter.
Good restaurant town.
Great restaurant, great places to live. Why? Why has it become so hard?
I don't know, honestly. And every time that I try to speculate why, I get half of Canada yelling at me on Twitter. But I don't know, because it is such a great town. And they have had some free agents. They brought in George Springer and Kevin Gossman and Chris Bassett. Like, they have had some free agent success. They just haven't had the success of landing the big fish. Part of it could be, you're going to the AL East. You got to contend with the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Rays and the Orioles. It's a really tough path to get to the playoffs. Although you could look at the NL West and say, why would anybody sign with anybody in that division other than the Dodgers? I don't know. I'm actually surprised that Toronto's had as much trouble.
Let me tell you, there's a worse way to spend a summer than 6 months at the Four Seasons in Toronto, walking around the restaurants in that area. That'd be a pretty good hang in the off season. I could learn. If it was necessary. Let's move on to the big announcement tonight. Hall of Fame night. Again, our live coverage starts at 2 Eastern with an on-location version of MLB Now. Announcement at 6 p.m. Thank you for the transparency in revealing your ballot to us here on Hot Stove. Here it is. Mark Feinsand's. Did you vote for all 10?
I did.
You're a big Hall guy.
I'm a big Hall guy.
All right, let's. Burley. Okay.
All right.
And you've got Pedroia and Andy Pettit. I see the requisite X's next to the guys we think are going to get in tonight, CC, Ichiro, and Wagner. But let's talk about some of the other guys first before we circle back on the slam dunks. Not everybody has guys like Pedroia, Pettit, and Burley.
So I've had Pettit on my ballot for a number of years since he became eligible, and I didn't have Burley on my ballot until last year. I added Burley last year because if you look at his career and Pettit's career, they're right there. I mean, Pettit has the more rings, but Burley did win a World Series. Their career WAR is within a point of each other, 59.1 to 60.2. And Burley, to me, in this era of we never see guys to 200 innings anymore. You never can count on a guy to go out there and take the ball every 5 days and deliver you depth. 14 straight seasons of 200 innings pitched and quality 200 innings. It wasn't like he was going out there 200 innings of a 4.8 ERA every year. I just thought, do I think he's going to get in? No, I don't. But I think he deserves a longer look. I think when you look at the scope of his career, you talked before about there's going to be some one and dones on the ballot. There are certain guys who I'd hate seeing as one and dones. And so sometimes I will give them a vote to try to keep them on the ballot so they can be assessed again in future years. Mike Mussina was pretty low his first year, and he obviously ended up.
Do you feel the same way about Pedroia? Was it you want to prevent him from being a one and done?
That was part of it. The other part of it is I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Former MVP, former Rookie of the Year, two-time World Series champion, and for his 11-season stretch before he got hurt, the slide Manny Machado in second base. Hold on. I didn't say the dirty slide. I said it was a slide, okay? I know who I'm sitting with here. Pedroia had a 53.3 WAR over his first 11 seasons. His WAR per 162 is 5.6. That's a half point higher than your average Hall of Famer. For that stretch, about a 7-year stretch, Dustin Pedroia, to me, was the best second baseman in the game. And if you're the best at your position for 7 years, you're going to get some serious.
That's why Jeff Kent should be in the Hall of Fame.
I used to vote for Jeff Kent every year. So.
I'll say this, too, on Pedroia's defense, on his behalf, that without the injuries at the end of the year, injury that led to injuries, there's at least 2.5, maybe 3 more years of counting stats, which probably tips the scale in a lot of people's minds. I know you can't play the ifs and buts and candy and nuts. You can't play that game with a guy's career. It is what it is when it's done. But there are people that make a pretty good case, including yourself, for somebody like Dustin Pedroia.
After that injury he had, he only played 9 more games. So his career essentially ended at age 33. Like you said, let's assume he plays pretty well, even just at 36. Those 3 more seasons, I think, are pretty impactful.
Hey, I know you guys both feel strongly, as I think we all do, because I think it's going to be unanimous today for Ichiro. I really do. I think he's going to join Mariano Rivera as the second ever 100%er in his first year of eligibility. I think it's going to happen. That's really a compelling reason, one of the compelling reasons to watch tonight. You covered the guy when you were on the Yankees beat. He was obviously in Seattle for many years while you were still in the game on the Yankees beat. Give us an Ichiro story. I actually started covering baseball the same year Ichiro started playing in the majors. So our careers were very, similar in terms of when we started. That's about it. Ichiro was great. He had a very dry sense of humor. You didn't know what to expect when he first came to the Yankees because he had never been in a media market like that before. And he was often amused by the amount of writers that there were for every game as opposed to just the big games. I recall a very specific game in 2013, I believe it was, in Fenway Park. Now, the Fenway Park visiting clubhouse is about the size of this desk. Yeah. So when you put an entire baseball team and the New York and Boston media in this room, there's not a lot of room to navigate. So we were doing a scrum interview with somebody 2 lockers over from Ichiro, and the scrum was, really pushing its way back, and I was sort of on the outskirts. I was trying to get in there, and all of a sudden I felt something underneath my foot. And I heard, and I turned around, and I'd stepped on Ichiro's hand. Oh! And on his hand? He was doing his pregame stretching. He had this legendary stretching routine, and he would do it on the floor in front of his locker. This was not the clubhouse to be doing that, but no one was going to get in his way. God! So I stepped on his hand, and all of a sudden I looked down with this, fear. Did I just put Ichiro on the DL? Because if I did, I'm the story today. I don't want to be the story. So Ichiro looks up at me, kind of shakes his hand a little bit, and just looks right at me in the eyes and just goes, "You need to lose weight." Oh, my God. In perfect English? In perfect English. I looked at him. I said, "You're not wrong. Are you okay?" He said, "I'm fine." He said, "Go." I said, "Thank you." This is like Larry David tripping Shaq. It was terrifying. For that moment,
I'm like, what if I just broke Ichiro's?
Oh, that's a great story.
And I will say, I don't know if he's going to be unanimous just because I've been trained to assume that no one is going to be unanimous except for Rivera. But when I wrote my column about my ballot, the first thing I said was, I don't know if he's going to be unanimous or not, but if he's not, you can't blame me.
you voted for. I got an Ichiro story. Rookie year, San Diego had just gotten traded over. Spring training, one of our first games, I was struggling a little bit in spring training, just timing. He finally gets to first base. We're playing the Mariners. And I remember getting him, he's at first base. I'm like, finally, I get to talk to Ichiro, right? I've watched him since I was young. Get to first base. And I'm like, Ichiro, you know, any tips? I'm a left-handed hitter. He's like, yes, I know. Perfect English, perfect Spanish, by the way, as well. And he's like, hey, you know, I've been breaking my bat. I've been rolling over. Kind of just looks at me and goes, Ichiro never rolls over. Ichiro never breaks bats. And I said, all right, well, there we go. Have a good one.
And then he takes his lead and he's off.
Takes his lead and he's off. The quietest base runner I've ever seen. Just incredible. You watch him take batting practice. A lot of teammates that I played with said that Ichiro wouldn't put his bat bag underneath the airplane. He would actually take it up with him to his seat on the plane. So everywhere he went, he felt like his bats were the samurai weapon.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to put them in. He would take it to his hotel room. He wouldn't even leave it with the rest of the bats.
I love stuff like that. I mean, the stories are legendary about the equipment guys having to do something different with Ichiro's bats every day.
Yeah.
They had to travel separately. They had to be cased separately. Those are great stories, and I do believe
the Serrano hat for bat.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to be unanimous today?
I think so.
Unanimous or not?
I hope so.
Okay. I want to talk to the guy that doesn't have him on his ballot.
We'll never know.
You won't get to, because if there's somebody who didn't have him on his ballot, we're still trying to figure out who didn't vote for Derek Jeter, right?
Yeah, we'll never know.
That's right.
I'm sure Jeter knows.
Oh, he does, doesn't he?
He's got to know.
Didn't he find out?
I just feel like, look, if you're not putting him on the ballot because you want to give other guys, he's going to get in, but I think these votes are better used. I understand the argument, but I don't anymore.
There's 10 guys you can vote.
You know what? Like, you can't look at that ballot. When I got my ballot this year, I looked at it, and I usually carry over the guys from last year and then figure out how many spots I have and see, unless there's too many. This year, I just checked off Ichiro's name and I checked off Sabathia's name, and then I went back for the
backfill.
Really quick, Felix Hernandez, no vote for him.
No, I think shorter peak of greatness, but when you look at the length of the career and all the numbers behind it, I think he was probably.
Does Beltran get in?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets in today, but I think he will get in.